Hey YouTube, Kira Twig here, bringing you all an update to my DDD Yu-Gi-Oh deck profile for post Battle of Chaos. We got a good number of different DDD cards in the latest booster set. Definitely an immense help to the actual playstyle of the deck. This was already a strong deck to begin with. The added cards were just bonuses for all the different DDD plays, which DDDs have a little bit of everything. They have Pendulum, Fusion Exceeds, Synchro, even Link, you name it, they can do it all with this deck. So big thanks to my buddy Anthony for letting me borrow his DDD deck for the deck profile. I wanted to stick to as pure as a DDD build as I could, which is mostly what you do with the main deck. It really comes down to what you want to do with the extra deck for some of the extra deck monsters, because you do have a big variety of all the different DDD monsters that you can run. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the main deck DDD monsters, we'll go ahead and start off with just the effect monsters. One of the best ones is DD Swirl Slime. Not only does this card let you fusion summon if it's in your hand by summoning out a DDD monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand as fusion material, including this card. So if you send it and another DDD monster, you have options for plenty of other fusions that you run in the extra deck to summon out. And then also being able to banish this card from your graveyard to special summon a DD monster from your hand means you can summon out some of the bigger boss monsters that would normally require either a Pendulum summon or a Tribute, all with this card. You can set it up in the graveyard for the fusion play and then banish it again for a special summon. Along with extra help for the fusion plays, I run 3 DD Necro Slime. If this card's in your graveyard, you can fusion summon 1 DDD fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing fusion materials listed on it, including this card. So if you don't have the special summon play for DD Swirl Slime, you can always just banish it along with Necro Slime, being the 2 first additional cards in your hand that you sent for the Swirl Slime special summon from the extra deck for the fusion, and then using Necro Slime from the graveyard, since you're not limited with the position of the link arrows on the field for your fusion summons. You can summon out as many as you want, and then have 2 fusions sent out that much more easily. And then for some of the synchro plays, I also run 3 DD Lamia. If this card's in your hand or graveyard, you can send 1 DD or Dark Contract from your hand or face up on the field to the graveyard, except Lamia, to special summon this card and banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use this effect of Lamia once per turn. So even if you set this card up in your graveyard with Swirl Slime, if you have that fusion play ready to go, you'll have your fusion on the field. You can summon Lamia out onto the field by sending out another Dark Contract or DD card from your hand to the graveyard, special summoning it, and then also potentially activating other cards if you were to summon out cards like your DD Genghis beforehand, because then when you activate a DD monster to special summon on the field, you'll gain an additional special summon thanks to that card. For the rest of the effect monsters, I run 1 DD Ghost and 1 Night Howl. Night Howl is great for special summoning back high-level DD monsters from your graveyard to the field, letting you then special summon out some of your high-level synchro monsters, since there's no restriction with it being a tuner as well. And 1 DD Ghost, when sent to the graveyard, being able to target a DD or Dark Contract in your graveyard except for it, and send 1 card from your deck to the graveyard with that name. And if this card is banished, you can target one of your banished DD monsters or Dark Contracts except for Ghost and return it to the graveyard. Great as another target for the Necro Slime, because then you can just recycle monsters back into the graveyard for you to reuse. For the Pendulum monsters, for the DDs, I run 3 DD Savant Kepler. You really won't ever use this card for the Pendulum scale. You're going to use it either for the search for your Dark Contract, which then being able to search out your known one, which is Dark Contract of the Gate, because then that'll just give you an additional monster to use. And with it, then you also have a 1-for-1 target, with it being a level 1 monster, and being able to set up other DD monsters in your graveyard thanks to the discard cost for 1-for-1. I also run the 3 DD Savant Copernicus. This is a setup card in the graveyard when it's normal or special summon, being able to send 1 DD or Dark Contract from your deck to the graveyard except for Savant Copernicus. You can only use this effect once per turn, but once again, it is set up and then just an additional monster on the field, whether you Pendulum summon out all the other resources, and being another low scale, it can work with some other cards if you were to Pendulum summon some DDDs on the field, and it can even be set up on the field with your Link monster, your DDD Abyss King Gilgamesh, is one of the 2 Pendulum scales you set. And I also run 2 DD Oblivion King Abyss Ragnarok. It has banish options when it's normal or special summon, targeting a DD monster in your graveyard, special summoning it. So you want more of the rank 8 options available, because you will use your Abyss King Ragnarok to special summon out cards onto the field, like your DDD Duodon King Kali Yuga, which then just stops all card effects on the field additionally. And also, I'm running 2 Go DDD Divine Zero King Rage. It's more of a scale 0, stopping effect damage, so from all your dark contracts, and having additional options, being able to attack directly. Your opponent can activate card or effects to the spell and trap card zones, or your opponent can activate card effects in their hand or graveyard, shutting down all of these plays, being able to tribute one other card and apply the effect until the end of the turn. It has 0 attack and defense, but you mostly use it as more of the control option against your opponent using this card. And when this card declares an attack, if your opponent's life points are 4,000 or less, you can make this card gain attack equal to your opponent's life points until the end of this turn. And that's really what you use for the finishing play with this card. For the new card from Battle of Chaos, I'm also running 1 DD Griffin. Depending on where you special summon this card, you'll either have a search or setup, being able to discard a DD or dark contract to draw 1 card, and it's Pendulum summoned, or if it's special summoned from the graveyard, being able to add a DD card from your deck to your hand. And if you control a DD monster, it's just another special summon on the field, which can then be used to summon out your Link monster. I thought of using additional numbers with this card. If you don't have the Go DDD Divine Zero King Rage, you can always add in additional copies of Griffin, being the spot for a 3 of in the deck, just as the additional special summon monster on the field. Being a level 4, it works great for Copernicus, because then you have the option for using those 2 cards for either an Xyz play or your Link play. And then for the rest of the 1-ofs for the DD Pendulum monsters, I run 1 Savat Newton, one of the best cards to use with Gilgamesh for the Pendulum scale setup, and 1 King Leonidas as an option if you take any damage as a special summon from your hand to then regain any of the damage you took, and giving you a 2600 attack point DDD monster that you can use for either synchro summoning with your Lilith or any of your other cards for the other plays. For the last of the monsters that I run in the main deck, just 3 Ash Blossom and Joy Spring. It's the hand trap of choice, just being able to shut down your opponent's own plays using this card to either stop graveyard setup or search from the hand. And that is it for the monsters. We'll now move on to the spells. I run 3 Dark Contract with the Gate. During your main phase, you can add 1 DD monster from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect of Dark Contract with the Gate once per turn. And once per turn during your standby phase, take 1,000 points of damage. So each turn, you just get that additional search. There are plenty of ways to prevent you from taking any of the damage, whether it be King Leonidas or some of your extra deck monsters. Very, very useful for that setup each additional turn. And for the fusion plays, I run 2 Dark Contract with the Swamp King. Now, you're going to search out most of these cards with Kepler. That's why we're only running 2 Swamp King, because you can use Dark Contract with the Gate to search out Kepler, which will then be able to search out your Dark Contract with the Swamp, giving you all of those resources. Other than that, 3 is really a dead draw. You really only need the 2. For more additional draw power, all of the monsters we run in the main deck are Dark Attributes. So 3 Allura Darkness just really helps with drawing into some of the more consistent cards we need for the plays. We run a lot of 3-ofs for a lot of these cards, and having multiples of some, like if you open up 2 Necro Slime, they really don't help much for your actual plays. So being able to banish 1 and draw into other cards that will help with some of your extra deck plays definitely does come in handy. With the rest of the spells just being 1 for 1. We don't run Monster Reborn or anything like that because we don't really get too many graveyard resources that we want to just special summon back to the field. We want to use them for their own plays or be special summoned through other means onto the field. As for the traps, I'm running 1 of the new DDD Headhunt. It's a card that lets you gain control of your opponent's monster. If you control a DDD monster, taking that monster, its effects are negated, it cannot declare an attack, but if it was special summoned from the extra deck, you can count it as a DDD monster, which are then needed for some of the fusion plays for cards like DDD Flame High King Genghis, needing a level 5 or higher monster if you take that monster as the resource, or just a DDD monster, which will count like that if it was from the extra deck. And then lastly for the traps, just 3 Infinite Impermanents. This is just another great shutdown card like Ash Blossom staple in a lot of decks, so it's just my preferred hand trap to use in this one also. And that is it for the main deck. We will now move on to the extra deck. I'm running 2 of the new DDD Divisor King Deus Machinax, a scale 10 monster. It's Pendulum. While you have a card in your other zone, you can target 1 Pendulum monster you control or in your graveyard. Special summon that card in your other special in your Pendulum zone. And if you do place that target Pendulum monster in your Pendulum zone, you go and use this effect of Divisor King Deus Machinax once per turn. And it needs 2 level 10 Fiend monsters, or you can also Exceed Summon it using a DDD monster you control and transferring the material to this card. So with your other Exceed monsters, it's just an easier resource to summon out onto the field by doing so, being able to detach 2 from this or destroying a Dark Contract. And if you do, attaching the opponent's card to this card as material when a monster on your opponent controls activates its effect. Very, very scary, but easily used as a resource after you finish using cards like your Kali Yuga or your Wave King Caesar, just overlaying into this card. I run one of the Dawn King Kali Yuga and the one Wave King Caesar as additional rank 4 and rank 8 options. You go into Kali Yuga a lot, being able to shut down your opponent's own plays and then have that option to go into the King Deus Machinax is what I definitely do like with the new play setup. You kind of have like a rank up option now with DDDs. And for the fusions, I run one Flame High King Genghis, one that stops your opponent's spell or traps during your turn when a spell or trap is activated, so you have no fear when you're doing your DDD plays. 2 Genghis for the additional special summon options. When you special summon another DD monster, you can target one in your graveyard and special summon it, so then you can go into additional plays on the field. 1 Beowulf for destruction of spell and traps on the field, also avoiding any of the burn damage you'll take with your Dark Contracts. Oracle King to Arc, if you can summon this card out, anytime you would inflict damage to yourself with your Dark Contracts, you'll gain it instead. And lastly, 1 Wave Oblivion King Ragnarok, being able to take your opponent's monsters, equip it onto this card when an attack is declared involving this card, and then being able to target a DDD or Dark Contract you control, return it to the hand, making it avoid the burn damage while taking your opponent's monster. For the synchros, I run the 1 Gus King Alexander. This card is great for the additional option of special summoning, just like Genghis. You can even use Genghis and your Lamia to summon out this card onto the field. The 1 DD Gus King High Alexander. With this one, with the level 8 monster, you can then use resources such as your Night Howl to special summon that monster onto the field, and then go into your Gus King Alexander, gaining additional power with the more different DDD monsters you have on the field. The last one being Curse King Siegfried, more of an option with the contracts you have on the field. That's why I like running one of this card. And for the last of the synchros, I thought of either Crystal Wing or Borreload Savage Dragon, but I decided to go with Borreload Savage Dragon since you do have the final option being your Link monster, which is DDD Abyss King Gilgamesh, which you will go into and set up your own pendulum scales, giving you more resources with the monsters you may have in your hand to then special summon out onto the field. As for some of the go-to plays in the deck, especially with the new DD Griffin, I already spoke before, you can set up your graveyard with a lot of these monsters, summoning out Copernicus to then send your Swirl Slime to the graveyard. If you have the DDD option, you can then special summon your Griffin onto the field, which what's great about Griffin is then you can then overlay with it, having the option to go into your Wave King Caesar, with Caesar having the detach option, or even just then after you summon out your Caesar, going into the King Deus Machinax, which has the better detach option where your opponent activates in a card. This will set up the Griffin in your graveyard for then to special summon onto the field by other means of your DDD monsters, giving you that resource to then add additional DDD monsters from your deck to your hand, which then can be special summoned if you were to go into the additional fusion plays for cards like your DD Flame High King Genghis, because when you special summon another DDD, you can use that target to summon Griffin onto the field and have that additional search. This will come in handy if you either have your Dark Contract set up on the field, and also the setup with cards like Lamia, special summoning by sending those other cards to the graveyard using those Dark Contracts. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Definitely happy that I can always update the deck. And once again, big thanks to my buddy Anthony for letting me borrow all the resources for the deck. With this new Battle of Chaos set, it definitely does help for the immense pressure that DDDs are known for. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And Kira Twig out.